So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Cuts International, let me welcome all of you to this webinar where we are going to talk about women traders in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. This is a project which we are implementing in partnership with the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, ICIMOD. We have been in touch with ICIMOD for the last several years, and we always have a dream of working in partnership with a very reputed body like ICIMOD, and finally that dream has come true. So let me first begin with let me thank our colleagues from ICIMOD for entering into this partnership with CUTS, and we are very grateful for that. Now in this project, we are looking at women entrepreneurship in 4 different Himalayan landscapes, which is also the working area of ICIMOD. They are the Karakoram Pamir landscape, number 1. Number 2 is Kailash landscape. Then we have Kanchenjunga landscape and Far Eastern Himalayas. So a number of countries are involved, and there are some distinct features of these landscapes. And that is one of the reasons why we have chosen a subject like this to work on this area. First is, by nature they are transboundary. For example, the Kailash landscape, there is one part of it is in India, the another part is in Nepal. Similarly, in other landscapes, it goes as far as to Tajikistan on the one hand, and Myanmar on the eastern side. And if we look at the economic profile of these places, we can see that women play a major role in their economies, and that is historic. Partly because of, but not fully, partly because of the social structure that we see in not all places, but in many of these places, is matrilineal or matriarchal society. And women entrepreneurship is not new in this area. It is historic. So what we wanted to see in this project, and this is just a beginning, and we have done some work on a pilot basis with support from ICIMOD, not just monetary support, but content support. What we have seen is that women entrepreneurship in many of these places are quite good. At the same time, they are facing a number of challenges. Historically, even given the political boundaries, there are cross-border exchange of goods and ideas in these landscapes, in all these landscapes. But as a result of the COVID pandemic, number of challenges have appeared. And one of the major challenges is that there is sudden disruption of market access opportunities of these entrepreneurs, many of these entrepreneurs. So one thing which we looked at is the status of women entrepreneurs as we speak. And secondly, we looked at the impact of COVID-19 on women entrepreneurship, particularly the cross-border exchange of goods and ideas. So this is the background of this work. And this is, in today's webinar, we are going to present some of the interim results which we have found, and some of them are very, very interesting. Going forward, we have to see that how we can further substantiate those results what are the policy implications, what are the practice implications, and how we can take forward the policy advocacy messages to various governments, various government as well as non-government, I would say, agencies in these countries governing this landscape. So with this brief remarks, let me now request Dr. Pema Gyamtsho, who is the Director General of ICIMOD, for his opening remarks. Over to you, Dr. Gyamtsho.
Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar, bringing mountain women across borders, a case of women traders in the Hindu Kush Himalayas. Perhaps we should also call it linking mountain women across borders. I think probably that is the objective, that we bring the mountain women together in cross-border trading. I'm very pleased to hear that CUTS International and my colleagues from ICIMOD carried out this study in the 4 landscapes that ICIMOD is working upon. This is, of course, a very important area, although it is informal at this stage. But let me tell you that this is one of the sectors that provide a main source of income for many of the urban poor. The households living in urban areas, the cross-border trade being carried out by the women members of their family constitute a major source of their income. And this is also true for lower level civil servants, who the members, the mothers or sisters from their family engage in cross-border trade to supplement the family income. From Bhutan, I know that there are so many of my colleagues engaged in this cross-border trade, particularly in terms of bringing clothes and handicrafts, groceries from Nepal, from Bangladesh, and so on. So this is taking place at the informal level. And we also know that they are also facing several constraints and several challenges when they are engaged in that. One of the areas that we need to look at is also the visa facilities, how we can make it easier for our women to travel across borders, to visit each other's countries for purchase of goods. And also look at how the consignment of freights, be it through air or surface or by even shipment, could be made easier. At this stage, there are several difficulties that they face. And also customs clearances, so on. And at the other end also, at the receiving end, they are also faced with difficulties in terms of clearing their consignments. So we need to look at all these limitations, all these difficulties that they are facing, but this is definitely a sector that would grow. And it should not be just limited to trading in clothes and groceries, but I think we should expand this to tourism. I know that in Bhutan there are so many women leaders in tourism, engaged in tourism, as well as in cross-border trade in other goods. And I think we need to look at the opportunities that this presents. And as I mentioned, in the small and medium scale enterprises, we should look at tourism as one, linking our women entrepreneurs together. We should look at also setting up small scale businesses through a partnership arrangement or through mentoring systems or through joint ventures. And there are established businesses in some of our member countries who could actually mentor those upcoming entrepreneurs, young women entrepreneurs in the other countries, and then set up a Himalayan or Hindu Kush Himalayan brand. We could have a standard, common standards, common certification system, and a common brand name so that we could be competitive in the world market. So instead of competing against each other, we could actually be competing against other regions in the world. So I think these are areas that have very good promises for us. We should also look at exchanges in the fine arts. This region is very, very rich in culture. So cultural exchange programs, the skilling and also grooming of young artisans, young artists should also be looked at as one of the areas that we should engage in. Now, I know that you have come up with this very interesting study, and there may be many, many recommendations in that. So please look at the challenges and examine the opportunities. And I would like to assure you that from ICIMOD sides, we would be very, very happy to support the process of moving forward in this cross-border trading. I think what we need to do is create an enabling environment for our women to actually engage in cross-border trade, keeping in mind their safety, keeping in mind the legalities, that they don't have to avoid, the law, or break the law, or break rules and regulations of the host countries, but within the framework of law, how we can make business much easier, and for them to be able to make a profitable living, profitable income from this cross-border trade. So I'm very much looking forward to hear the speakers. You have a very strong lineup of eminent women speakers, ladies from our region, and I'm sure they would come up with many brilliant ideas that we could take forward. I would like to thank Mr. Bipul Chatterjee, the Director of CUTS International, and your colleagues for partnering with us at ICIMOD, my colleagues Kamala Gurung and Gurung in this area, in this study. So thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing more from the other speakers. Thank you.
Sorry about this. Thank you, Dr. Gyamtsho. I'm glad that you mentioned tourism. This is one area where we see that there is a lot of potentiality, and we have to look at it very, very closely and carefully. Not just tourism in silos, but how can it be linked with other sectors of the local economy? That is something that we are going to do among various other things in future under this project. Secondly, and related to this point, is that from our initial fieldwork, we have also found at a very nascent stage, maybe dormant at this stage, that there is also scope for exploring value chains, cross-border value chains in some of the products which we have dealt with. And we have also found the aspiration of the entrepreneurs, that they're not just looking at doing trade across the border or in the local markets, they're also looking for international markets. There are markets for such niche products, many of those niche products, and they're looking for that. So how, for example, e-commerce, electronic commerce can enable them to access such markets? That is something which we have to also look at. So with this, let me now request Mrs. Janita Gurung, Program Coordinator, Kailash Sacred Landscape of ICIMOD. Over to you, Janita. She is going to talk about the objectives of this webinar. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Bipulji. Am I on?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So thank you very much to everyone who has joined this webinar. And given the background that Bipulji and Dr. Pema have just provided us, I would like to highlight the 3 key objectives of this workshop. So we are working in 4 transboundary landscapes in the Hindu Kush Himalaya. And here, the cross-border and regional aspects of trade are going to be highlighted. And the key findings of the study conducted by CUTS will be presented as the first objective of this webinar. Now, the second objective is to bring together all of our stakeholders in the landscape. So this includes the women traders, organizations working with women traders, and of course, CUTS and ICIMOD, and to discuss on the challenges and opportunities that are present for them. Some of these have already been discussed a little bit by Bipulji and Dr. Pema, but we will hear both from Dr. Veena as well as our stakeholders. And lastly, from these discussions, we very much want to identify some priority actions for immediate implementation in the field so that we can encourage and support women traders in these landscapes. So this study was brought about by COVID in 2020 last year. And I really want to congratulate CUTS for conducting this study despite COVID. So I myself am very excited to hear the findings of the study, as well as to, and I look forward to hearing from all the speakers. And I do hope that we will come out with some very fruitful results so that we can take it forward for immediate implementation. Thank you very much, and best wishes. Over to you, Bipulji.
Thank you. Thank you, Janita ji. And on that note, let me now request my colleague, Veena Vidyadharan. She is going to show us some glimpses from the fields. I guess not just the photographs, but also some stories behind those photographs. So over to you, Veena ji.
Thank you, Bipul. Good morning, everybody. As said by Bipul in his opening remarks, this has been an opportunity which we have been waiting for since years to collaborate with a prestigious institution like ICIMOD. I'll just share I have a presentation prepared, so I'll just share my screen. Hope you all can see the screen.
Yes, you have to increase it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So yeah, in my presentation, I'll just be giving a brief about the goal and objectives, which already has been shared by Bipul and Janita. And
Sorry, Veena ji, you can remove. There's this strip coming on the left-hand side of the screen. Yeah, this is better. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Actually, full screen, Veena. Could you hit the full screen button next to the 160? Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and share some of the key findings or observations that came out from the survey, and how COVID has impacted the business, the trade of these mountain women. And we have also attempted to come up with some potential future interventions that can be undertaken in the landscape under study. So as mentioned by all the speakers in the opening session, the project actually, the overall objective is to facilitate and strengthen women's role in trade in the transboundary landscapes. Now the transboundary landscapes, as you know, many of you might be knowing, shares a common ecological, cultural, historical features across borders. And the primary object, the specific objectives of the project is to understand the nature of trade, whether it is formal or informal trade happening in the transboundary landscapes, and also to identify the shocks and vulnerabilities which these women are facing, especially in the context of COVID-19, and also to come up with some suggestions to identify some opportunities to enhance the resilience of these communities to shock and vulnerabilities. So the landscapes under the study include Hindu Kush Karakoram Pamir landscape, Kailash sacred landscape, Kanchenjunga landscape, and Far Eastern Himalayan landscape. The study, actually, the survey was conducted using a structured questionnaire wherein we tried to capture a brief profile of the respondents, the nature of economic activities, whether informal sector or formal sector, whether they are into agriculture or in which sector, and the aspects related to financial inclusion, digital inclusion, COVID impact, and other social factors affecting their economic activity. Now, if you look at the respondent composition, so far we have surveyed about 215 respondents across the 4 landscapes. We are yet to complete the survey in China in the HILIFE landscape. The distribution is evident in the graph. About 20 respondents from Afghanistan, Bhutan. India, we have maximum number of respondents because it falls in 3 landscapes. And we were fortunate to do the survey in time in Myanmar also, and Nepal, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and even the Tibetan side of China. The age-wise distribution of the respondents is given in the graph below. Though the survey covered women of all age groups ranging from 20 to 60 plus, maximum respondents were in the age group of 30 to 39, followed by 40 to 49 age group. If you look at the nature of economic activity in which they are engaged, the blue color indicates the handicrafts and handloom sector. You can see that in Kailash sacred landscapes, our respondents were mostly engaged in handicrafts and handloom, followed by agriculture and allied activities. In Kanchenjunga landscape also, it's prevalent in cash crops, are very common in Kanchenjunga landscape. So agriculture is a prominent sector. Whereas in HKPL, we got a mixed response with women in other sectors. Small shops, vendors were also among the respondents. And HILIFE also, we have a better distributed respondents among various sectors. Now we were discussing about whether the enterprises are formal or informal. We asked them about the registration status. As you can see in the graph, the orange color indicates the non-registered one, which supports our argument that most of the women are engaged in informal sector, or they are not registered their enterprises. The next slide shows the number of male and female workers engaged by the enterprises. Across the landscape, you could see that an average of 1 male employee was engaged in Kailash and Kanchenjunga. And in case of female workers, you can see that across all the landscapes, 1, 2, 4, and 1 are the average number of female workers engaged. Again, it underlines the fact that women who are in business tend to engage more women as employees. The external factors, if you again look across the landscape, you can see that seasonal nature of business was highlighted by most of the respondents. As you have seen in the previous slide, most of them are engaged in agriculture allied activities. The products are seasonal, and also due to harsh winter in the mountain landscape, they are not able to open their shops, and also most of the time they engage in other activities like knitting, weaving, etc., and they prepare stuff for the upcoming summer festival. So that's how they spend their winter. And climatic and natural disasters like floods, avalanche, earthquakes are very common in this mountain landscape. Political tension has also been highlighted in HILIFE, in sacred Kailash sacred landscape and HKPL. This graph shows the frequency of market, where you can see that most of the time the markets are organized fortnightly or weekly. The women carry the products to the weekly markets, which are held along the border side. And some of them also rely on yearly market, like international trade fairs, which happens once in a year. The challenges we have broadly categorized into 3. The local challenges while entering into local trade, into cross-border trade, and international trade. The local trade, the constraints are mostly about the infrastructure, and the local population are not that confident in women while they enter into trade, and there are issues of safety also. Absence of skilled labor was highlighted in Kanchenjunga landscape, and there is no supporting services, say like marketing agency and all. For that, they had to hire from other outside the state. For cross-border, again, there were issues related to payment and family restrictions. And since these places are remotely located, it also requires resources for, like, sometimes the goods are carried on horses to the border markets. So usually women are not, women generally, they don't go to those markets. Connectivity, network, conflict, these are all common issues that has been highlighted in all the landscapes. This is an interesting graph. The orange color actually indicates the percentage of respondents who has not availed any kind of loan. So that's the, you can see that the maximum respondents are in that, fall in that category. And in most cases, they borrow either from self-help groups or relatives or their friends. That means mostly informal institutions and not formal institutions. The reasons again vary. Absence of collateral is of course there. So even other than that, we have noticed that there is low risk-bearing capacity with the women. They don't want to expand their business. They are happy with whatever business is happening at the local front. And that also kind of restricts them to avail a loan. And there are some issues, religious related issues also, wherein certain respondents have reported that they prefer not to take loans. Use of digital technology. So if you ask the respondents about operating computer, only 53% of the respondents said that they don't know how to operate computer. But many of them have smartphones, but they don't generally use that phone for business purposes. Either they are not aware of using that, or they have poor internet connection. And most of the customers are local customers, so they don't have to resort to those kind of technology. But this is one area where lot of skill building can be done, and this has actually helped in many other landscapes where people actually resort to e-commerce platform and online platforms during COVID. The challenges caused by COVID. COVID impact was mostly the impact of COVID on business was mostly due to shown in the reduced demand for products. They couldn't get the raw materials because the transportation, the whole mechanism was stopped during that time. They were unable to pay the loans, even the vendors, and even the small monthly contribution they used to make to the self-help groups. And the capacity of consumers to spend was also reduced, because in the mountain landscapes, most of the men, they work abroad or they used to send remittance, and the economy was mostly dependent on remittance, and this also come down, and that also has reduced the spending capacity of families. Border closure, mobility restrictions, and marketing of products, because most of the international market and border market were closed, and international fairs didn't happen last year. So that also was a reason for them to, for not selling their products. And the additional workload at home due to the increased care work and increased stress, because they had to take care of their children and other men at home. Now, some of the potential future interventions which we have identified, it actually links to what Bipul has highlighted in his speech. It's about value chains. We need to build on the strength, like promoting niche products and artisans in the landscape. I've just shown few photographs of few products which many of you are already aware of. Chura or Indian butter tree is very common in Uttarakhand, Pithoragarh side, and even the adjoining Nepal border area. And the butter is very, it's edible and it's highly nutritious also. And it's also used in several cosmetic products. But actually there is no processing unit as such in that region. One machine was procured, but it is again placed in a far off place where people cannot actually go. So right now they are resorted to hand processing. Now large cardamom, again, it's produced in Bhutan and parts of Kanchenjunga, other parts of Kanchenjunga landscape. Most of the large cardamom again goes to Gulf countries where it is processed into pan masala and all. Now with the support of the Sikkim government, a processing unit is being established for large cardamom. So such initiatives can be replicated in other areas also where these products are, these crops are being grown. Scorpion grass, again, it's a herb. It has a lot of medicinal properties, and even the fiber is used for weaving shawls and other cloth material. Sea buckthorn, and you can see the Ipan art is a traditional art in Uttarakhand. This young entrepreneur, she actually promotes the art through social media, and she has also contacted the local government and to use this art to display the boards in various government offices. So this is kind of support they are expecting from government. And the handmade carpets, you can see the lady, very intrinsic handwork. And this, she actually prepares this for the international fair in Taklakot and Jaljubi market in India-Nepal border. But this year she couldn't sell the product, and she has almost products worth 1 lakh at her home, which she couldn't sell this year. Create alternate marketing channels. The outlet which is shown in the slide is HILIFE's marketing outlet, which is again a cooperative market outlet in Uttarakhand state, wherein women SHGs, the cooperatives which are the self-help groups which are formed under the National Rural Livelihood Mission, they bring their products to this outlet. They can bring it at any volume, say 1 or 2 pieces, even that is admissible, and from there marketing is done. So this kind of outlets are there in major cities, but people even in Dharchula and that adjoining border areas, there is no outlet at that bordering areas. But even then, they are not even aware that their products can also be taken to this kind of outlets. So this cooperative market outlets would be a platform where women can actually sell their products. The other thing which I wanted to highlight is the creation of regional network, which is also one of the objective of our study, as highlighted by Dr. Pema in his speech. This is something which we can actually look for, like kind of branding like Himalayan products, wherein women entrepreneurs can actually connect across border, across landscape, because a lot of artisans are there, a lot of handicraft unique products are there, niche products like the Pamir honey or the Bhutan honey. All this can be promoted if branded properly. And ICIMOD being an intergovernmental organization and having presence in all the landscapes and I mean all the countries, so it will be good to have such a platform, online platform, where we can bring together these entrepreneurs from all the places and provide them an opportunity to connect with the rest of the world. The other thing I wanted to highlight is private sector engagement, like the case of the plant Chura, wherein one private company was interested and they had initial discussions with the community, but they found that somehow the costing is not working out, and they found it costly, and then they backed out. But this kind of private sector engagement is important when you're talking about value addition. So yeah, so that's one component which we can actually look at.
How many more slides, Veena?
3, 4. I'll just find them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it quickly.
Okay. Upskilling and product diversification is another area where we can work in, because if you look at the households, all of them are into carpet weaving or similar products. Or if you look at the agriculture, all of them are doing same crop. And there has been cases where wildlife attack has been reported, particularly in Pithoragarh side. So the alternate strategy suggested by the agriculture department officials was to go for other crops, say like ginger and turmeric, which is less affected due to wildlife. But then that interest has to be generated among the farmers. Going for new products like using bee wax for candle making, or bamboo lifestyle products as highlighted in Kanchenjunga landscape can also be resorted to. Now, training on business development as well as business promotion and even running business safe, especially in the context of COVID, was highlighted in Pamir landscape, where women demanded that they would like to know how to do business, adopting all the safety measures during the period of COVID. Setting up of business incubation centers, again to nurture the culture of entrepreneurship in women, and capacity building on digital technology, and creating clusters. You can see that in mountain areas, people are sparsely located, but again, this cluster-based approach would help when we are thinking about developing a value chain. And then alternate options for finance. Like you have seen in the slide, institutional finance is a great challenge which women are facing. And in many cases, the self-help group are helping them. Like I said, in case of India, the National Rural Livelihood, under the National Rural Livelihood Mission, several SDGs were created. And even in Pamir landscape, international organizations like Aga Khan Foundation and Mountain Societies Development Program, under which these SDGs are created. And there, these groups are the main funding source for women in mountain landscapes. Microfinance and angel investors can be something which we can think about if we have unique idea and a business plan to capture the interest of private sector. Just one last slide where I have just shown few markets. One is the Taklakot International Market. In the right-hand side, you can see the border hut at Pangsu Pass, which has been opened recently and then again closed due to COVID. And the two photos given below are of the border market in Julaghat, India-Nepal border. The left side photo shows the pictures when there is a bridge connecting India and Nepal across the Kali River. And the left side photograph indicates the scene when the bridge was closed. No movement. The entire business is dependent on Nepali customers. And you can see the situation again once it was reopened. So this actually shows the importance of this kind of trade fairs, border markets, border huts, etc. in the lives of mountain women, as they are very integral part of their lives. And in case of India and Nepal, they usually say that Nepal, in Hindi they say that India and Nepal have Nepal ke saath hamara roti beti ka rishta hai, means roti is bread and beti is daughter. Like they share their bread and they marry their daughters to the other side of the border. So that kind of relation exists. So despite of the political tension or other tensions and COVID, they actually long for being connected across border. And this is something people-to-people connectivity that we are also promoting in as part of our various other projects, something which ICIMOD can take lead in bringing these mountain women to build their livelihoods and resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Veena ji. So on that note, let me now request Kamala ji, Kamala Gurung. She is the Gender and Natural Resource Management Specialist at ICIMOD. She is going to moderate the next session, Voices from Transboundary Landscapes. So we have speakers from Pakistan, Bhutan, and then from two parts of India, one from the eastern part, Sikkim, and also from Uttarakhand on the western part of India. And I understand that there is a colleague, one of our colleagues from Myanmar, she has also been able to join So she is going to speak as well. This is my understanding. I may be wrong. So over to you, Kamalaji. We are slightly, not slightly, but a bit substantially running late. So let us see how we go about it. Over to you, Kamalaji.
Thank you very much, Bipulji. Yes, this is the session, the very exciting session for this webinar events. Well, we have actually 6 speakers representing 7 countries. I think we need to cover all of them, though I'm going to cut off the questions that we'll be asking each speaker. I'm so glad that our Myanmar colleagues, she had joined. I'm very pleased, though she was out of in touch in the last minute. Thank you, Nandarji, coming back to us. The first speaker will be from Myanmar. She's representing HILIFE. She's the Women Entrepreneur Association from Myanmar. Nandarji, Nandar, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear?
Yes.
You will be the first speaker. So I'm going to ask you the first question. Since you are the president of Women Association, Entrepreneur Association, what motivates to be engaged in the business?
My president, Dr. Lee, she advised me, COVID-19, we cannot do business, so she advised me so many for we can sell the online shopping. Online shopping, this you need to start. This business is good for lady. So I tried what can I sell? I asked my president. She tell me you can sell food. Food is all people need to food. So okay, I said the food product. I am not production, but I do the distribution. Food master Myanmar online shop. I start. COVID-19, my country problem. After I start the online business for food.
Oh, that's great. So you are doing at the moment online shopping due to the COVID-19.
Yes.
Yeah. Is your family supporting for doing this? Your family members?
My husband is sailor, but he don't do go to work, so he can do special. He is golfer. He know golf business. He know golf, so I do for him one for golf master. I sell the golf accessory. One golf accessory online shop for him. One full online shop for me. So we sell together.
Thank you, Nandar. What specific challenges you face while doing this online shopping during this COVID? Any challenges that you face while doing this business?
Full product is not challenge, but golf business is challenges for people. This business is a little expensive. A little expensive for golf accessories, so they need to where are you stay? They because I sell pre-order. I need to give many 50%. I need first they want to buy something. I need to get pre-order for 50% money. First I get. So this is they don't believe before. They don't believe before. So I try for belief. We can say we can hear this. I show them my home place address. So this only not difficult for so many.
Oh,
not challenge.
That's great. The last question: what specific kind of support do you expect from the government, your government? I know
my
there's challenges at the moment.
No, because my government they do for people. They give money for poor people. Poor people, not me. We are not poor people, so they don't give money for me.
That's thank you, Nandarji. I will be ending your session, your session now due to the time limitation. So thank you very much. I will move the next speaker from Myanmar. Her name is Maryam Iqbal. She's the regional head of Handicraft Association of Pakistan, and also she's the founder of handicraft brand Global Nomad, Scherzade, and also the founder of the KP business. So I would like to call her here. Maryam Iqbal, are you here? Welcome to this session, and thank you very much. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The first question: what motivates to engage in this handicraft business?
I think the motivation naturally comes from your passion for something. So I'm very passionate about the beautiful stories and traditions that are passed on from handicrafts and how they represent our culture. And as a woman, like, my economic independence is very important to me, and being able to give back to the society. I work with some very poor women, and also be able to support my family. And I believe in women empowerment. So women's economic empowerment is something that, brings in the passion to start my own business.
Thank you. As Nandar mentioned that during this COVID, the 19 situation, have you faced any challenges? If you have, then how this situation has affected in your business?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a very crucial question, because I think almost everyone's been affected mentally, financially by COVID. Cash flow problems, small businesses that don't have enough more than 3 months. The increased, mental health issues that come with not being able to extend business in Peshawar, which borders with Afghanistan. I based heavily on exhibitions and trade shows, which was stopped because of COVID. And also village tourism was affected, cross border with COVID, all that. So I think that's how COVID affected us. And the other issues generally, other than COVID, that women face is transport, lack of financial funds, is lack of help desk facilities like applying for loans, all the paperwork that comes with it.
Yes. Hello, Maryam. Are you there? Seems like we have having a problem with your internet connection.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last question: any support from your government during this period?
Yes, the government did facilitation for daily wages in the form of paying the utility bills for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
The Prime Minister Imran Khan from Pakistan also started the Rozgar, their businesses. The other problem areas which government should support us is in the fiscal regime, the taxation, the tariff. The process should be simplified. That is ease of business. If that is not there, it's entrepreneurs to go on businesses. And access to financing, I think there needs to be more. I know the small medium Enterprise Development Authority. COVID, you are not able to.
Sorry, Maryam, we having I think you having some internet connection problem. So with this, I'll end of asking the questions. Thank you very much, Maryam, for sharing your experience. Now our next speaker is from Bhutan. Her name is Priyasha Gurung. She's an entrepreneur, but her background seems to be very interesting from survey engineering. She runs the restaurant called Megabytes Cafe in Samtse, Bhutan. Are you here, Priyasha? Miss Priyasha, are you here?
Hello.
Hello, Priyasha. Welcome to this session. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Are you ready, Priyasha?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, we can. Can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am. Very clearly indeed.
Yeah. Okay. The first, the same question. What motivates you to engage in the restaurant, though your background is from, survey engineering?
Firstly, I want to thank everyone involved in this discussion for giving me an opportunity to voice out my thoughts and keep my ideas and experiences on the table. I'm grateful for that. And yes, I have done diploma in survey engineering, in fact, but I was more inclined towards doing business because my family owns some micro businesses, and I was always fascinated by how they used to work and connect with people. So to answer your question about what really motivates me to be engaged in business is the network that we form with the people from different parts of the world encourages me to be interested in the business, and also the opportunity to grow in business. What happens is there's always room to grow, to be big enough to pursue our dreams and to always look for better things, and we can always expand our horizons, and that is the two main factors which encourages me to be involved in business.
Thank you, Priyasha. Seems to me you are very young. Is there any support from your family members doing this business?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from those lucky few who always had supportive parents, and my parents has been always supportive of my decisions, and especially my mother. She has been a businesswoman from a very young age, and despite of lacking high qualifications, she still managed to break lots of glass ceilings, and she had created a very clear pathway for me to follow, and I always look up to her, and she has encouraged me a lot, ma'am. And same goes with my father. He is highly educated and he has been in government job, but still then he never said no to my ideas and encouraged me to pursue my dreams in the field of business and in other sectors as well, ma'am.
Any specific challenges you face being a young, entrepreneur, and during this COVID, or in general challenges you face?
The challenge, we as women face a lot of challenges in daily basis, but the most challenging one was people from the society do not take our ideas seriously. They tend to take it very lightly, and somehow we are also responsible for that because we lack self-confidence. We are not able to convince people of our worth. So the society is very judgmental, and stereotypical views has always been impressed on women. And as a woman, I'm always apprehensive of the choices that I make, and sometimes it leads to downfall of my business because I'm not able to convince people of my ideas, ma'am. So one of the biggest challenges I face is people not taking our ideas seriously as a woman, and the business is mostly male dominated, so we tend to feel insecure in those kind of scenarios. And I think we as women need to really build our self-confidence and be convincing enough of our ideas, and we need to believe in ourselves worth more, ma'am. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Priyasha. The last question, is there any kind of government support you expect to expand your business or to motivate young people to engage in this in the private sector? What any specific support?
Especially in Bhutan, the government has been very forthcoming and they have helped us a lot. And yeah, I really feel that they did a great job. But still, then I would like to seek support from government in terms of like some package deals or some kind of schemes which will encourage us to be in business. What happens is because of the pandemic, because of the nature of the disease, where people are scared and we are being challenged because of the nature of the disease as well. And I would want government to help us in terms of like raising awareness and making us feel like confident in what we are doing, and offer some kind of package deals or schemes which can also help us economically, mentally, and keep us engaged. Yes, ma'am. Those are like the things I would like to seek support from the government.
Thank you, Priyasha. So because we're running out of time, but it's a very encouraging, the way you are saying it, to engage, to motivate young people to engage in private sector. Thank you, Priyasha, once again. Our next speaker is Smita Rai. She's from Sikkim. She runs the enterprise named Namchi Designer Candles. Smita, are you here?
Hello, good morning. Yes.
Smita, good morning. Thank you. First of all, thank you for accepting our invitation from COTS and ICIMOD. The same question again here. What motivates to run your candle business?
Yes, good morning, everyone. To start, I would like to inform that I'm into designer candle making business, engaged with about 30 rural women coming from everyone, especially coming from rural background. So what keeps me motivated in this business is the lack of, economic independence of these women. The way they are dependent now, I see it's been like 8 years and we are engaged in this business. That is what motivates me, ma'am.
Okay. So is there any family support running your business, Smita?
Yes, I have a lot of family support and as well support coming from my friends. That is there, yes.
In generally, what challenges you face? You are also giving a job for some rural poor women. So what specific challenges you face in generally, and also during this COVID-19?
Yes, COVID-19 period was a really bad, phase of my life, and as well lives of all the women associated with this craft. We had a really tough time since we are dependent on market in taking part in exhibitions, going out, selling our products. That was stopped for quite some time, so we could not do business. And also we have shops and outlets here. We cater to tourists. Since it was stopped, no tourists coming, so that also affected a lot our business. But we have a WhatsApp group, so it is a big challenge for me to keep my ladies motivated. So for a few days we thought it'll be over in a while, but then it was taking quite some time. Then I started to feel that my ladies have started losing motivation, and just to keep them motivated, we would have online sessions with each other. We would chat on WhatsApp, and then I would tell them, just endure. This will be over soon, and that's how we became over. We passed this stage, and now we have though resumed our business, but it's still a tough time.
Sorry to hear, Smita. Is there any the government support did you receive or?
Not yet. There are a lot of problem in the processing of the documents and this and that. If you're asking me what government can do for us and what I want government to do for us is, ease of business and ease in documentation, ease in financing should be there. Of course, we need funds, right? 6 months we were struggling. We have used we dipped into our personal savings. We used our whatever savings we had. And then now we are short of funds, but still we're trying our best to come back. So here we are still facing a lot of challenges in financing. So I expect the government to do better. At least let us have ease in applying loans and all sort of funds.
Thank you, Smita. I will stop here due to the time limitation. So our next speaker, but we will be showing a video of Manju Kotiyal. She is the president of Adi Kailash self-help group from Dharchula, Uttarakhand. Over to you, Dr. Veena, for this video.
सारे बहनों को नमस्कार। मैं श्रीमती मंजू कुटियाल आदि कैलाश स्वयं सहायता समूह में अध्यक्ष हूँ और मेरे संगठन का नाम है नवज्योति, उसमें भी मैं अध्यक्ष हूँ।
तो मंजू जी, आप ये बताइए ना, ये कोरोना काल में आपको आपके समूह के काम में और बिजनेस व्यापार में क्या फर्क पड़ा?
हमारे समूह में तो हमको सबसे पहले तो हम एक दूसरे पे मिल नहीं पाए कोरोना की वजह से। उसके बाद हमारे मीटिंगें सब छूट गए और हमारे बिजनेस की बातें हैं तो बिजनेस हमारा नेपाल टू धारचूला हमारा पार वार का एक पुल है, उसमें भी हमको बहुत दिक्कतें आई। नेपाल बंद होने की वजह से हमारे कारोबार में बड़ा दिक्कत आई, हमारे दुकानें सारे बंद रहे और हमारे जो यहाँ से जो माल बना के हम लोग तगलाकोट ले जाते थे उसमें भी हमको बहुत फर्क पड़ा, क्योंकि सारे जितने भी माल हम लेके गए वो सब वहीं गुंजी में पड़ा हुआ है, वहाँ की दुकान हमारी ठप हो गई, इसमें हमको बहुत दिक्कतें आई।
तो फिर आप सरकार से क्या उम्मीद रखते हैं?
अगर सरकार हमको मतलब बाहर से जो हम धन कालीन का हम लोग जो बिजनेस करते परंपरा हमारा जो कालीन बिनाई का हमारा बिजनेस है उसमें हम लोग हमको ऊन की सप्लाई वो लोग करके देते और हमारे यहाँ एक मंडी जैसा छोटे से मतलब सरस टाइप का हमारे यहाँ सरकार की ओर से खोल देते या ब्लॉक से या तहसील से कहीं से भी खोल देते, तो हम लोग हमारे यहाँ के सामान जितने भी है हम उसको इकट्ठा करके हम वहाँ रख के वहाँ से फिर आप लोग हमारा सामान को बाहर सप्लाई के लिए हमको लेके जाते हैं।
तो मंजू जी, जैसे समूह का अपने उससे चलता है या बैंक से कोई परेशानी होती है या बैंक के लोनिंग पे ही निर्भर हो आप लोग?
बैंक से तो हमें बैंक के उससे तो कोई निर्भर नहीं है, थोड़ा बहुत हमारा जो होता है बैंक से भी हेल्प जो समूह की वजह से हेल्प होता है और समूह में जुड़ने की वजह से हम लोग को बहुत सारे मतलब ज्ञान मिल रखे हैं। जैसा हम लोग ब्लॉग में जाते हैं कहीं उधर इधर जाते हैं उसमें है और ज़्यादा कोई समूह से उतना वो नहीं है हमारे यहाँ।
धन्यवाद।
Sorry, the video was not of that good quality. My colleague will be sharing, Chetna will be translating what Manju ji has shared with us.
Thank you, Veena ma'am. We just heard Manju Kotiyal. She is the president of a self-help group called Adi Kailash, and she's also running a business by the name Navjyoti. She shared that due to COVID, it was not possible for her self-help group members to connect physically, and all their meetings were postponed. The business was also affected severely due to the closure of the bridge that connects to Nepal through Dharchula, and the product that they used to take to Taklakot market were also kept unsold for a very long time. Further, she said that the government could have helped them by supplying wool for their Dankaleen business. And mandis like Saras could also be established in their areas, like at the block level or tehsil level, so that they can give their products in that mandi, and further it can be marketed and sold to other places. When asked that if they are taking any help from the bank, she shared that they are not dependent on the bank. However, the self-help group helps to raise funds and help each other financially. Thank you.
Thank you so much for translating her, speech. So the next speaker is Monira. She's from Tajikistan. Interestingly, her background is senior biologist, but she also helped cuts for doing a survey for this study. Monira, are you here? Monira?
Yes. Hello.
Monira, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Can you hear me?
Thank you so much. Yes, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Greetings from Tajikistan, Pamir, Korog Mountain. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for invitation.
Thank you, Monira. Well, I will be asking the same question to other speakers, same. So what motivates you to engage? Are you engaged in any businesses at the moment?
No, so I'm working, I'm the researcher, I'm the scientist. I'm working in Pamir Biological Institute as an entomologist, biologist. So I'm thankful to the Veena and Mr. Ghulam Ali from ICIMOD. So it is, they involved me in this research. So I'm very thankful.
Yeah,
so the
well,
first of, yes, so go ahead.
Well, it's interesting that your background is as a researcher, in entomologists, more at the very scientist. Doing a survey, this study, what specific interesting things you found?
So it was very tough research. And also I had got this interesting background. So actually I got through all these markets and Korok. And during this November, December, so it was very snowing. And so I was very had problem with that. So there is no power and electricity. And so like this, so, but I got it, this information. So during this research study and with the women, so it was like as a suggestions from that women's and the business traders. So from respondents from all questions from these women's, actually the business was during this COVID-19 very harsh. So it was not only for Korok, but actually for all the world. But it was very problem. So, but we did it.
Oh, yes.
But this was very problem, what I mentioned. But in this harsh snow and even the women are in the market, it's very very hard. So to take all this interview from them, it is also not was very easier. And because it was very long, that some of them refused to talk to me. And for one traders, I talked to 3 times. And so finally I did it. Thank you.
Just wanted to ask your personal, professional experience. Which one will be more, not really easier, but comfortable part doing a research, the insect, you are entomologist, versus talking with the people?
So thank you for this such a good question. So actually I'm working with this whitefly. In whitefly and this which is harsh for this in the orchards and the fruit trees. So in this actually with in the greenhouses.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So which one is easier? More, doing a research in this compounded area, or going out talking with the community, like, for instance, this study? Which one is more exciting, you think?
You're asking about this, about the insect?
Not the study that you engaged, for this study, the entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. Is it very exciting for you? It's a new topic.
It is very interesting for me. It is very new for me, and I was so impressed on that, actually, in honest, because I ran from here to there, and I called to Afghanistan from the work, and so the cross border was closed, and so it was very interesting. I was so impressed on that, and I would like to emphasize one point. So during this conversation and interview with the woman, so the more important thing is that it is snowing, and during the snowing you're asking a lot of questions in the outside of this market, because actually women are selling all these products outside, and they have a lot of problem, like as an interest-free loan, and they're asking like, so Munira, you are taking our times, because instead of to talk to you, and so we are spending our time, because we are the customers waiting for us. So it is very, I was really interesting. Still, I'm like feeling that I'm doing again and again. So it's very interesting, honestly. So it was.
So thank you, Monira. So I would like to end this session here. Thank you, 6 speakers from 7 countries. I'm very much thankful to everyone. So with this, over to you, Bipulji.
Thank you, Kamala ji. Let me also thank all our guests and speakers, particularly who spoke during this session. So once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Cuts International, let me welcome you to this program again. So after hearing from all these entrepreneurs and seeing the presentation about our work, now we are going to do a panel discussion, and I'm going to moderate it. We have 4 speakers, as I see from the agenda. They are from Afghanistan, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. Now, before I request the speakers to speak, I have 1 or 2 specific questions for each of them, and would request them for their thoughts on those issues. I would like to say a couple of things. One is that as I think Kamala ji has rightly pointed out, or Janita ji, that while the motivation is there and is quite strong, the environment needs to be much more enabling. So this is one cross-cutting question or issue that I have for all the speakers. How can we make this business environment more enabling for women entrepreneurs to flourish, to expand their business or entrepreneurship? So that's one thing which I would like to speak. I would request each of the speakers to deal with. Secondly, we see that in all these countries, female labor force participation is quite low. It is, in some cases, it is even lower than 30%, as in India, it's about 26-27%. Maybe it's because of our system of data collection. We are talking about just formal labor force, whereas informal labor force is quite visible, is very much present in all these cases, as you can see. So there is this one school of thought that we have to formalize the informal. I don't necessarily agree with it for several reasons. I can talk about those reasons. But I would like to also request you, all the speakers, to, if you can tell us about this thought, formalization of the informal. What is your thinking? Is it going to help women entrepreneurship, or we go for a semi-formal kind of arrangement? That is the second point which I'd like to highlight. With that note, let me first request our speaker from Afghanistan, Mozammil Shinwari. He is the Executive Director of Organization for Economic Studies and Peace. This is one of the leading think tank in Afghanistan, and we are very pleased to establish our partnership with you. So other than those two questions, I have a specific question for you, Mozammil, that one of the recommendations from our work so far is that it would be good to go for cluster-based approach with self-help groups or other form of business organizations. So do you think that's first how it is working in Afghanistan and in this landscape? And do you think that is a way forward for us to encourage more and more women entrepreneurs? So over to you, Mozammil, in about 10 minutes.
Thank you, Bipulji. It's a pleasure to be part of such a great discussion. I think for me, from my background, I work as a Deputy Minister for Trade, and getting involved in this process and also this survey, I think it was something quite amazing and interesting for me. And I found out something that I was not able to get it in my tenure as a Deputy Minister for Trade for 6 years. So thank you for this opportunity. I think that was a great initiative, and that's something we have to work on it. First, we have to look to the difficulty of that terrain that the people living in there, especially when we talk about Badakhshan. You know, we have several districts of Badakhshan that they are bordering with Tajikistan, which is Darwaz, Shagnan, Ishkashim, and Wakhan. The most difficult one in terms of the terrain and access to the basic things is Wakhan. The other three, normally what happened in winter, we are disconnected with these three districts from Afghanistan side. So even if we need from Afghanistan side to reach to this area, we have to use Tajikistan route, and we have to go there. So that is one thing you can understand the difficulty there. And then Wakhan, Zebak, and Kiran Munjan, they are a border with Gilgit-Baltistan. Currently under the control of Pakistan. So those areas that we are having, but the trade normally we have it on one side. On the other side, now there is a proposal from Pakistan government that there should be a kind of bazaar or the border market between Afghanistan and in Pakistan in those areas. But we haven't had any formal decision from the government side on that, but there is an agreement in principle by both government that they will open market there. But with Tajikistan, we are having that, and it's now for a long time. Maybe it's reduced for a while, but again, we used to have 5 to 6 border market in each and every district there, and that was a good sign for people interacting, and especially when we talk about the winter season that we are having a problem there. Whether this business evolved since the passage of time or not, it's not that much. Yes, there is an improvement, there is an increase in women business there. But if we can say that it's evolved significantly, no. Still they're using traditional means, still they're using traditional ways of doing business, and still they're using the same traditional work that they were doing. The one question that you put at the beginning, that whether number of women are there or we are missing, I think we are missing the exact number, and that is one of the major issue, because when we talk about the local business or very small scale businesses or people they're involved, they're the complete family they're involved in it. For example, if we look to the dairy products that they're making, I think, of course, maybe the people they're taking it to the market, they might be male, a member of the family, but what is prepared, it's mostly prepared by women in those houses. So that is quite important. For example, when we talk about the handicraft, mostly it's made by the women. When we talk about the agriculture, even in the fields, in all those areas, the women, they are working beside their men. For example, if we talk about spinning the wool and also weaving the carpets and many other products. So I think in most of them, women are involved. So it's not somehow that we can say that this is an area that we covered. No, it's not covered in the male. And mostly when we say like in the areas like Afghanistan and especially Badakhshan, mostly you find the male dominant society. So even if the work is done by women, everything is prepared by women, you know, the credit is taken by men. So I think this is something. Now to the second question that you posed, whether we need to formalize the informal, I don't think, my personal opinion, no. We have to support this process. We have to work with them to further improve their production, to further improve their work. That is something. And we make the role of the women more visible in that area. Because if you force them to get into the formalization process, then it become a big headache. They get involved to the local bureaucracy, they get involved to all those things, and they say, better that we used to do what we used to do instead of going that. But there is also a risk of that. The one risk is that if they don't formalize it, if they don't move ahead with that, there will be less opportunity for them to access funding because they might seek a kind of assurance in that. We have to find way, and that is one like organization of yours. It's coming to play an important role, that how we can find an alternative for those things, that how we can link those informal businesses to the formal institution, that they should coordinate with each other, they should cooperate with each other. If we talk about the small loans that they are getting, how we do that. Here is one good example in Afghanistan, we are having it. It's the World Bank funded project. It's called Afghanistan Rural Enterprise Development Program. And that project is, it's a kind of way that they are making a kind of in each and every village a society, and they assign a chair and they assign a treasurer and all those things, and they put money together, and they starting giving it to one person as a loan, and they are backing it when they have their business to other and other. So they have several kind of mechanisms in different provinces, and that work quite well, especially for these small businesses that we are having in rural areas. That help. But you know, again, like the difficulties of the terrain that we are seeing, it is quite a problem. Second issue, especially when we talk about the entering to the border market, it's always a difficult thing for female going there, crossing to the other side. Especially Badakhshan, we are having quite good relation, but looking to the current situation of the COVID, that somehow vanished because they were quite you know, there were difficulties and they were quite strict in rules that how to handle that. But whether that affected directly the people that they produce things in Afghanistan, that will be looking quite surprised for everyone. From the first wave of the COVID, everybody was so scared. You know, they said, oh, what is happening? But it started like getting thing with the people, not only in those areas, but overall in Afghanistan. He said, you know, there are two ways. If we stay at home, we will die from hunger. If we go out, there is possibility that we get affected, and there is less possibility that we died from COVID. So it's better to go outside and do something and work, not to die from hunger, not our children to die from hunger. And that was one reason many people came out. And we had problems in that. We had more casualties, but the problem is that, again, the reporting system, that was an issue. So people, because to earn you know, something to save their life and their children, they had to fight with COVID as well. They had to come out, they had to go to market, they had to go, to do their business, they had to do everything. And that was the one of the, bravest decision they made, but unfortunate, it's quite unfortunate because on both sides, they were having problem. And they said, from hunger, it's more certainty that we will die or our kids will die. But from COVID, it's less, percentage. So better to take the risk. And that was one reason that the people, they didn't care that much. They didn't use masks. They didn't, avoid, congested area. They didn't do all those things. Now, the markets that they're available inside Tajikistan, and mostly it's there are two markets, which is one is near this Harog area of Tajikistan, so around 2,000 to 3,000 people visiting there, and there is other is Ishkashan market. There are around 4,000 people visiting, coming there, in around 100 to 150 businesses participate in that. So that's a good number that the people are coming in there, showing interest in that. One reason for having such thing on this side, that's why Pakistan is now entering to such kind of arrangement, especially in those areas. They're having link with Chatral to have those things. And also there is also some negative mentality about this border market in Afghanistan as well. Back in 2001, when we started a new government, post-Taliban government, we had quite big number of the border market with Iran. And initially that was quite supportive to the process, the people, they were doing that. But with the passage of time, that became the biggest kind of escape kind of thing for the smuggling goods, avoiding the custom duties. They're entering that, and because there was not proper control, there is not overall specific area that it will be under control of the custom authority or the border police, and that created problems. So it affected the production inside Afghanistan and Herat, and somehow it created problem for the factories, industries that they were in Herat, and around 2,000 to 3,000 small to medium size industries, they were closed. And that's why the Afghan government then decided that, okay, now we will stop the border market with Iran. With Tajikistan, it was completely different case. The area, especially when we talk about the bordering Tajikistan, that is somehow we don't access it for 3 to 5 months. So it was, need-based thing. It's not only for the economic purpose, it's mainly the social purpose. And the social purpose is that we should feed these people. And for that, we had to do this thing. So I think we are looking to two perspectives when we are talking about border market. One is economically encouraging those people to get involved in economic activity. Second, answering that the demand of those people for food and other living things that we are getting. So that is having a social impact. So while moving ahead, I think we have to not just look to it from the economic perspective, we have to look for it from the social perspective. Now, the final thing, the role of the international community, and with this I will conclude my remarks, the role of the multilateral donors, bilateral donors, and also the overall international development partners, it's significant in those areas. I'm talking about only Badakhshan area in Afghanistan, but we see it all around the Hindu Kush mountain areas, wherever it's go, taking it from Nepal all the way coming to that. The people, they are facing the similar kind of problem, but our problem is worse because of the insecurity, and that is one of the area which is targeted by the insurgents, because they have the hideout for themselves, and they can create problem easily, then go to mountains and stay there, especially when it's not winter. In winter, they cannot live there. So the role of international development partner is significant. Currently, Aga Khan Foundation and Aga Khan Development Network, they're quite actively involved there in providing support, small grants and small loan. World Bank, they're doing some project. Government is doing major project to have roads and major roads built. We are expecting that hopefully sometime from near to midterm, that we have a direct access to China through a Han corridor. If we can manage to get that, and we are trying to do that under BRI, that Belt and Road Initiative that Chinese are having. So if we manage to have that, I think that will be a kind of revolution in the lives of those people, because that will give them access, direct access, because some of them, they're traveling by donkeys and mules and horses for 2 to 3 days and night to bring their patient to a hospital. So if we get that opportunity, and that's something that we are talking with Chinese on it. So if we can build that, that will be transformation. So looking to the overall, this these people that they're living there, I think we should not only look for the economic, from the economic perspective, but we should look from the social perspective in providing them basic needs of life. So I will stop here. If there is any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Many thanks. Thank you, Mozammil ji. It's not just economic, it's socio-economic. That is something we need to underline. There are a couple of points which I would like to highlight before I come to the next speaker. One is that I'm glad that you explained this formal, informal thing. My point is that we don't have to ape or imitate the Western concepts always. Some of them are very good, no doubt about them. But we have to have contextualize those concepts in respect to what is happening on the ground in our part of the world. And there is huge diversity. Even within India, one size fits all or one type fits all approach has not worked. It's not going to work going forward. So therefore, this local level institutionalization of local context, local concepts, that's become very, very important. And this is one of the objectives of this project, to see them, to understand them. And you have also mentioned this World Bank supported project, for which World Bank is very proud of. And every day we are getting tweets about success stories from that project. So you need to look at those things very, very carefully and see how we can make them much more enabling rather than getting into the formal, informal business. The objective is to make them more enabling given the local context. Also, let me thank you for talking about these border markets. You may be aware that on this subject, border markets, or what we call border huts in our part of the world, CUTS has been working over the last 5 years on India-Bangladesh border huts. And I would request, if you have not come across that work, I would request my colleague Chetna Rathore to send you the report which we have prepared in partnership with World Bank. The first report and the second report, the draft is ready, which we have done in partnership with the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Organization. And that exactly what you have said, what we have found in case of India-Bangladesh border hut as well. It's not just economic, it's socio-economic, it's people-to-people contact. Those things are important. And interestingly, we found that the border security agencies, they are also very happy about these initiatives because of the peace, stability, security that this initiative has brought in. So on that note, let me now come to Mrs. Khunzang Lhamu. She is Director General in the Department of Employment and Human Resources in the Ministry of Labor and Human Resources, Royal Government of Bhutan. She has been very supportive of our work. So thank you, Madam, for all your support which you have been getting from time to time. Other than those two questions, the specific question that I have for you is that why, after all these years, I'm talking about in case of India, after 75th year, almost 75th year of our independence, we are still grappling with questions like this. Why we are not looking at women entrepreneurship in a much more positive manner, keeping in mind that if we somehow exclude 50% of our humanity, it is next to impossible for us to make progress. So that's maybe a very simple question. It may not have a simple answer, but it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on this matter, other than this formal, informal thing, border markets and things like that. So what to you, madam, in about 10, 12 minutes, madam?
Thank you, Mr. Bipul, and good afternoon, Dr. Pema, Director General of ICIMOD, Mr. Bipul, ED of CUTS International, organizers and participants. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts in this virtual webinar. And I think I will address your questions as I go along. So I would like to actually start my response dwelling on the issue of the tourism sector, because that is where a rapid socioeconomic impact assessment of the COVID-19 was made in Bhutan. And in the other sectors, we don't really have information that was collected during the COVID-19 or on the impact of the COVID-19. So I thought it would be very relevant to start with this study, which is already in place. As expected, the biggest impact of the pandemic, as I think everywhere else, has been on the employment sector. And immediately after the first coronavirus case was detected, about 11,200 Bhutanese lost their jobs, mostly in the tourism sector. By July, this figure had gone up to 30,000. And now we find that around 50,000 and more hoteliers, tour operators, guides, and homestays were affected. And in this sector, a majority of the service, the ones included in the service sector are women. So that's why it's very important to know the impacts. However, one key drawback of the study that was conducted was that it was not really looked at from a gender lens. So this is really an issue which we need to take up, I think, in the future when such studies are carried out, to look at all the issues from a gender lens, and also to have sex disaggregated data so that we know we can come up with gender interventions, gender responsive interventions. So what we found from this assessment of the COVID-19 impact on the tourism sector was that 81% of the households were left vulnerable and needed immediate support, especially due to the loss of jobs. 74% of affected households reported a significant drop in income by at least 50%. More than 70% of the respondents expressed interest in taking up alternative employment. However, fewer women than men were interested in alternative employment options, particularly because of increased household responsibilities during lockdowns and other issues, school closures that happened during the COVID-19, but also because many of the professions and options provided were on the male-dominated areas. Then the coping strategies put forward by households, including seeking loans. These were some of the coping strategies: seeking loans, government support, other employment opportunities, or return to the villages. The pandemic also had a greater impact on women, especially because they made up a major portion of those in the informal sector. So this study provided policy recommendations and strategies for immediate relief, focusing on protecting the most vulnerable groups, such as cottage and small enterprises, the self-employed individuals with limited coping options, and also women and youth. So this had to be done through a well-coordinated response, relief, and support mechanism. And in the beginning, what the Director General said about linking our women together within Bhutan, but also across the HKH region, it becomes very important because it also has to do a lot with mentoring and exchanging experiences and showcasing good experiences across borders also as well. So these are some of the things that we really need to look at. And going over to the CSMI sector, the cottage and small and medium enterprise sector, women owned about 35%, but employment in this sector, women made up about 41%. And their dominant presence was in crafts, services, and agro-processing. Again, this is as per the enterprise survey that was conducted by the World Bank in 2018. And men were also, it was also found that men were generally paid higher across the CSMI sector. And when you look at another study that was done on micro and small businesses owned by women in 2018, Bhutan has a high percentage of illiterate women entrepreneurs, about 37%, and only 5% had tertiary education. So this places women at a disadvantage, especially in accessing support and services, accessing digital technology on an equal level playing field, and also enhancing of their entrepreneurial capabilities. So this actually requires entrepreneurial training, hand-holding support, and end-to-end support, especially towards the women entrepreneurs. So coming to your point on creating a gender-friendly environment, now going back to the challenges that women face, especially in the MSME sector, one can see that there are socio-cultural norms and also the huge responsibility that the household care work places on. And these actually prevent women from participating in economic activities. So, and what you also find is there's a lack of women-friendly regulatory, financial, and infrastructural support. So when I say regulatory, it also means consultation with the broader public, including women, and also ensuring that their needs are reflected in the decision-making and in what happens on the policy and regulatory level. And financial support more towards access to credit and other hand-holding support that is provided to entrepreneurs, and infrastructural support. By this, I mean the facilities that women require, safety measures that are required, and ensuring that there's adequate childcare, adequate flexi time, adequate parental support such as maternity leaves. So these are some of the issues that need to be considered across all sectors, but especially in the private sector and the cottage and small industry sector. So these are things that the government really needs to look at without just using like a uniform approach, but looking at the needs of the different sectors of the economy and also the needs of women and men, so that proper interventions are taken. So there were several measures taken by the government during the COVID-19, and one of it was the King's Relief Fund that really provided monetary relief and also engagement to many of the COVID affected workforce and new entrants and job seekers in the market. And we also rolled out contingency and acceleration plans in the areas of tourism, agriculture, and construction. This included the Build Bhutan project in the construction sector, which involved training and wage subsidy for those youth coming into the construction sector, and also the drafting of the 21st Century Economic Roadmap. So this roadmap is expected to provide a supporting platform for economic activities to thrive and have the potential to transform the economy by accelerating growth and creating employment. And also it is expected that the implementation will include gender and be gender and vulnerable group responsive. So these are some of the things being taken up. And there are also some in the employment and human resources area, in the way that we have the Youth Employment and Livelihood Program that was extended to include the COVID impacted workforce. So then under this, in the year 2020, there were around 60% of the total people who were trained were females. And even in the skilling, critical skills training, we had about 60% participants who were females. And then there was also entrepreneurship development training programs that were conducted. And we had about 48% of females taking part in these trainings. So with all these interventions, and again, there are some few more interventions going to take place with more focus on skilling, reskilling and upskilling, at least to enhance the employability of the youth and the COVID affected workforce. So these are some of the interventions and measures that the government is taking in the wake of the COVID-19. So coming back again to your question of formalizing the informal, I totally agree with Mr. Mozammil and also with yourself. And I feel that one has to look at the context and do proper assessments before actually having a blanket formalizing the informal kind of a strategy. Because while there are advantages and disadvantages, there is also a need to look at, okay, sometimes the informal sector is not included in the surveys that are conducted. And then you're not able to get their problems and challenges, especially faced by the informal sector. So when such things happen, I think there are ways of going around this, and having targeted surveys for the informal sector, these things could be incorporated to address the disadvantages that are there. But having a blanket formalizing of the informal sector, I think is not really advised. And we would really look at contextualizing this. And also because once you formalize, then the bureaucratic procedures, the need to be IT savvy, the need to know and have technology at the tip of your fingertips, those become important. And many in the informal sector, they do not have that. So I think we need to look at all the issues before making such decisions. And we should also look at how we can address the issues that are faced in the informal sector. So with this, thank you, Mr. Bipul.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Lami. This is great. I'm glad that you highlighted in the beginning of your presentation, you talked about the tourism sector. This is one sector which is heavily impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and all over the world. By heavily impacted, I mean there are a number of studies, and one common thing about all these studies is there are two common things in that. One is that for each tourist day, there is 5 days of employment which is created on an average. So we can well imagine that how employment has been affected as a result of COVID-19. Number 2, tourism sector should not be looked at in isolation. It is highly linked both at the backward level or the back end and at the front end with several other sectors, including small and cottage industries. So as a result of COVID, those sectors are also highly impacted, and they are also quite employment or labor intensive. And I would say women employment intensive. So women workforce, they are disproportionately impacted as a result of COVID. So what we need to do is to go details into it and see, while we all talk about resilience, we have to have a very specific positive, by positive I mean positive discrimination in favor of those women workers, those women entrepreneurs, to get them back into the business. More importantly, get them back into the entrepreneurship, livelihood, and their pride, social and self-pride. And that is that has been hugely impacted. It's more of a question not just about economics, not just about society, it's also a question of psychology. So definitely we are going to make these recommendations. I'll come back to this point also. The secondly, again, you underlined, as like the previous speaker, that we should not blindly formalize the informal sector. We should contextualize the local context. And while doing that, there are several things we have to look at. But two things I would like to highlight. One is that we need to see, even being informal, I mean, not formal in an official sense, how can we help them to get access to finance? That is very, very important. That's one end. Secondly, they are also employing women workers. How can we help those workers to access social security benefits? That's also very, very important. So these are the things. Of course, we are going to make recommendations for them, but we need to see that how can we not just make a recommendation or two, but make things happen on the ground. Not just outputs of a project, but to have outcomes and impacts on the ground. On that note, let me now request Mr. Pankaj Tiwari, who is the Executive Director of Arohi in Uttarakhand, which is a province in India, North India, northern part of India, bordering Nepal and China. So Arohi, we know that they're doing wonderful work. And many of the things that we are actually discussing, that they're being implemented by organizations like Arohi on the ground. This dichotomy between formal and informal, without being formal in official sense, how can we help entrepreneurs on the ground? So Arohi is one of them which is doing that. So over to you, Pankajji. Let's hear your thoughts in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Good morning to all of you. I am highly thankful to CUTS International and ICIMOD for providing me this opportunity. Bipulji, thanks to you, your team of Veena, Vandana, and thanks to Janita and Kamala also being associated with ICIMOD for last 10 years. It's a good opportunity to share the works, especially in the landscape. So before that, I will just share that I have been working in the Kailash sacred landscape with the ICIMOD program for last 8 to 9 years and continuing the activities over there. So have been a part of that program. It is a great platform to share my field experiences while I was there for a long time. So as Bipulji shared some of the key points, and it was discussed by previous speaker also, that production is going on there and the manufacturing is being taken care by the women. But the issue is that how they could be basically provided the facilities or the support for the forward linkages. Is still in manufacturing, in production, they are there. But at the end, when it's the time of the business, they are not being given too much of priority and the male gets dominated there. So ultimately, it is one of the issue how it can be catered. That is one. Secondly, when we talk about the business and all these things, in 95, 96, when we started working with at the ground level, we found that women are too much in pressure and in drudgery to fulfill their daily requirements of fodder, fuel wood, and water. So when we made a study, it was found if there is a woman of 65-year age, around 7 years just basically spent in collecting these three things, means in their daily life. So it is also the things that how we can create for them a working environment, the favorable environment in which they should enjoy doing the business rather than doing it in a pressure. So that is one of the things that how we should cater these issues also while we work there. Then capacities of the males also need to be improvised, because when women are given too much of the opportunities, then again the pressure uh, is more and the drudgery increases. So I feel that how we can involve the male in a positive way, so they could be jointly the efforts could be made, especially women could also take care of forward linkages, and male should also get involved in the whole process of each and every value chain. Then one more point that we were discussing, then we talk about the SHGs, self-help groups, joint liability groups, cooperatives, and everything is there. But sometimes what is happening with the time, especially in the landscape of the government program, SHGs and JLGs are just meant for the monthly meeting, collecting some money, and then just basically linking it with the banks. But the issue of socio-economy and some environmental issues are still not taken up as it has to be taken up by the SHGs. So I think when we think of the women entrepreneurship or the entrepreneurship of the business, then the socio-environmental issues should also be linked with the SHG programs. So it should not be only one thing that we have to do the business. We have to just generate the income. We have to just get economically beneficial, but also how we can make it more social aspect and also environmental issues also. Like already it was being shared earlier by you, as well as by the presentation you a study made, that a human wildlife conflict, climate change, these are some of the key issues. So we have to formalize in a way that environment, social aspect, and economic issues should be considered all together. One more thing I think in the landscape is the one of the biggest issue still we are sometimes missing, is that we are not looking too much about the health issues, not only during the COVID, but also earlier. And the maternal and child health is one of the key issues if we want to make the women society happier and they could give their 100% to business, to entrepreneurship, to the economic upliftment, then this issue has to be addressed, that I feel as a part of ROE, because we are working on this sector and we found this the issue of nutrition, issue of poor health, anemia. Still, this institutional deliveries are not there. Maternal issues are there. Nutrition, hygiene. These all issues are also required to be taken up if we need a holistic development. Because without a good health, without a good mental and physical health, we can't expect too much. So this is one of the things that I would like to share of being an experience of working in the landscape for last, and then the mountains for last 20 years. Then one more thing, education is also one of the key issue. If we talk about the migration, we talk about this lot of issues, because there are a lot of in the landscape, the absentee schools are there, teachers are not there, schools are there, but the teachers are not there. So how we can basically resolve this issue, how we could provide the best of education to the kids. So at least we could provide the best of environment in their respective villages. This is one of the things that I thought need to be shared while we are working on this overall development of women and the entrepreneurship in the cross-border area. So in all these aspects, I think the role of the organization, civil society is the basically, so that we need to, as a science and practice should be linked all together while we are working on these things. And about your question, Vipulji, the formal and informal, I think formal is answer, but it can be taken up gradually. As you said, ROE, we are working with our organization and as a small cottage industry for last 28 years. So we have not made a too much formal structure, as you have already said, but we involve the people with a very transparent mechanism, and they are more than happy rather than being a formal institution. So that model can be basically replicated, or we can basically support this thing, and we can go detail on this also. Then I was given two questions by you. What was that? What opportunities do you see for the women in economic activities in Kailash landscape? So that already your study also resolved, and being a professional from the environment and forestry sector, I think that we have to think on the biodiversity based activities, both agro biodiversity and forest-based biodiversity, because when we are going to link this agro biodiversity into a business model, then only we are able to find the solution for the environmental challenges. That is one of the key point I would like to highlight here, because without having income from any of the crop or any of the diversity, you can't ask common public कि वो they will just basically protect the thing. So ultimately finance is there. So I think agro biodiversity wise there are a lot of niche product, like we in Arohi, we works a lot on the culinary herbs. Those are being used, and post COVID and during the COVID period, the demand has been increased immensely. So there is an immense scope for these type of product now. So we can go for these, and these are climate resilient. These can be grown in the mountains. We do not need too much of efforts. These, even many crops are not being damaged by the wild animals. So this is one of the area where we can use our best of our land we can use through these activities. Then about the tourism, we operate the homestays. So we are just not having the homestays, but we have to link it, like in the Kailash sacred landscape also, with agro-based tourism. As Bipulji have already shared, that only going, having the homestay is not a thing. So how we are basically involving the people with the agro-based industry. So ultimately it will help our whole sector of agro-based tourism, our skills, our traditional culture, it will support that. So these are some of the things that I feel are very important, especially when we talk about the Kailash landscape. Then there are it is immense, rich in culture, in the biodiversity, very much rich in traditional knowledge. So how we can basically take it forward. Then we need a lot of support for publicizing the innovations, because women do a lot of enterprising thing, innovation, but those are not being basically publicized. So this is one of the issue, that how we can take forward the small their story or small their learning could be taken forward in a way by all of us further. And I would like to also share one of the thing that already in your study it has been shared, that Chura has been now given the geographical indicator. I was the part of that whole process in Uttarakhand with the Kailash program, and last 2019 it was basically supported. So Rajma, the kidney bean, and this apple, as well as this third bamboo species, and fourth is Chura, they are being already given GIs. The last certificate we are going to receive in coming month. So this is one of the things where we can work, and Arohi is now supporting the cosmetic industry with the Chura. We are going for the specific lip balm of Chura. We are going for the specific soaps of Chura. And already last week we are having a, just to share with you, we were having a 7 days training for the entrepreneurs there in landscape on Chura based cosmetic items. Through support of Hilans, the ILSP, because they are also partnering Arohi. So a role of Arohi is just whatever we have having our capacities, we are just implementing in the landscape also. So this is, I would like to share with you. So this could be one of the things. And then work is also required on that, how we can take these products, some of the key products as the FOA mountain product. So that will help us a lot, like Humla ka kidney bean of Humla, Chura from here. So we can just cross border, we can work on it. And like this Chura, kidney bean, bamboo based industry, cross border, it can be taken up at mass scales. Already it has been attempted while we were working on the Kailash program earlier in 2017-18, and would be likely to continue this program. So cross border value chains required to be done. We attempted this also to bring two of the, with the ICIMOD support, and they are the key, even Janita can share more. So two partners, from one from Nepal, one from India, the private player, how they could basically take the business further to support all the women. So this is one of the things that I think very important. So niche product with the concept of organic could be the key, and especially focusing not on the new crops, but on the niche crops. Those are resilient to the mountains rather than going for the vegetable crop. So we have also tested right now the this turmeric. So it has the curcumin value is quite good. So how we can basically take all these agro-based activities, this is key. Then there was one more thing that, yeah, definitely COVID has impacted the women as well as the whole of us, but it has also given us one of the time to introspect, to know ourselves. So when we went to the landscape in the mountain area, I found this time the women were very happy that all together the families have worked a lot on their fields. The fallow land has been digged out and they are now being used as the cultivable land. So this is also the opportunity got by the people, because negative is that, yeah, it has affected all our economy, but positive is that, and people got realized that having a small things, but they are sustained, they are having good food enough for themselves at their village. So this is also the realization by the people that why it is very important to make their cultivable field cultivable all the time rather than going for other activities. Although to an extent the domestic violence also increased due to the COVID that we observed, and we made a small study over there. But in all, this is the area where we can work a lot. And the women also faced the challenge earlier also said, due to the kids were at the home, so their workload increased. But in all, I think this COVID has realized, or COVID has just make us very much clear the one liner that how basically we need to be ambitious collection action for better symbiotic relation, rather than just as a human being. Homo sapiens has always taken nature in a different way. So yeah, it has affected especially our tourism industry has been affected badly, but it has also given us the opportunity to think that how we can manage and how we can make a more cohesive relation with our nature. Then there were one more question. It is a general that how civil societies can basically play a role in the landscape or in the mountains at the cross-border level. So one of the key thing is that we can work as a bridge. Already we have a lot of information. Already we are aware of the things, how we can go forward. Because sometimes it's very easy to say that go for the business, go for the export. But it is very tough when we are working at the grassroots level. So at least we have made few studies also, sir. Sometimes the requirement within the district, within the landscape is too much, but we are just targeting some markets, and sometimes if we are not capable, we are not getting good returns. So ultimately we can go in a way how we can use the existing models, the model of HILANS, the ILSP, the model of Gramya, the World Bank assisted projects. They have almost 3-4 models, the infrastructure, how this Cuts International is having a huge experience nationally and internationally, and we are working in the mountains. So those infrastructure can be tapped, because otherwise later on they all turn as a white elephant. The infrastructure is there, but it is being not utilized, having a good infrastructure there. So this is one of the area where the civil societies can play a key role, like us. Then the awareness training program and SHG concept has to be taken in a holistic way, rather than it's just with a business or with the financial issues. It is one of the thing. And GI could be taken as a cross-border exchange program, how it has been done, how we can take it forward. This is one of the things. And like earlier shared, during the COVID, our business also got badly affected. But then we started using the social media like Instagram, e-commerce activities. And I would like to say that it has given us also opportunity, that it is one of the best way that how we can enhance our business skills. So this is one of the things where we can train to the women. And already it was shared by your presentation that even 80% people are not aware of using the smartphones in this for these things. So this is also one of the priority of civil societies, to make them literate with the digital technology, and so they could use it. So this could be one of the key roles. And one more thing, I think ICIMOD has already done a lot of work in this Nagoya Protocol. The concept of biodiversity management committee and people's biodiversity register, that need to be, it is there, but it is not at the ground level. So it need to be worked out very much in a way it should be reflected at the grassroots level. So it will be one of the opportunity where we can basically go for a very good sustainable model of entrepreneurship, where we can provide women not only the income, but also a job for many people in a sustainable manner. And using this role of this PBR, BMC, the excess benefit sharing mechanism, directly to the producer at the grassroots level, especially to the woman. So these are my few of the suggestions that I have learned since my journey in the landscape for last 10, 12 years and working in the mountains for last 20 years. Thank you, Vipulji. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankajji, for all your thoughts. And this is, we have taken some of them into our existing study, and not just that, you have also told us many ideas which we will be able to take forward at the next phase of this work. I've just one point I would like to make before I come to Ritaji, that in the beginning of your presentation, you talked about issues, subject, which some may say that not directly linked with entrepreneurship, business. But I don't agree with that school of thought, but I think they are direct linkages. My question is that, do you think that these two initiatives of Government of India, one is this providing subsidized cooking gas, and number two is providing water supply connections, Jal Jeevan Mission. Do you think that they are working in the ground, in the areas where you are working? Do you think that they will help our women folks of our society to save their time and spend their time in a much more productive manner going forward? So this is a very specific question, and briefly, if you can tell us, that would be great, and then I'll come to Ritaji.
Yeah, definitely. As you suggested, sir, it is very important that entrepreneurship is linked with all the things, health, education, and the livelihoods. Regarding this specific question, I would like to say that, yeah, to an extent, this Ujjwala Yojana has been taken up by the people, but still, we made a lot of studies in the area. Still, people are dependent more on the fuel wood, because when we move in a tough terrain, the access to the LPG is not very easy in the area, and if they are coming to the roadside and then they have to take it on their back or through other transportation facility, the cost is very high. So it's not very easy. It is good in the accessible, where roads are accessible, there it is going on. And even after having the LPG cylinder, people especially use in the remote, in a very remote areas, just when they have a guest and they want to just prepare a tea for the people. Rest of the time they are still using the fuel wood. But for that, again, in the Kailash program, Kailash Secretariat, we introduced the prefabricated biogas. Those are still working. We initiated this in 5 villages with 25 to 30 units, and still these are functional. So that is more productive answer, or the sustainable answer, rather than going for this. So I would just say, yeah, it's good that Ujjwala Yojana is there, but it is not too much popular and being used. Secondly, about this Jal Jeevan Mission, lot of organizations are already working on the drinking water supply. But the problem is, this program is again one that we are not only in the landscape, we are facing here in our village Satoli, where Arohi is based, because ultimately first we have to maintain our water resources, the springs. So that is being one of the challenges, because having the drinking water scheme is not a scheme. And secondly, still, I think better is that if we go more for the roof water harvesting concept, or in situ water conservation, then only we can just resolve this problem. So that is a big program, and this can be supported by these traditional things also. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankajji. I mean, I'll get back to you on a one-to-one basis, maybe sometime later, on some of these things. Let me now come to Ritaji. Ritaji, after hearing from our friends and colleagues from Afghanistan, Bhutan, and India, do you think that, if you can tell us that whether things are similar in Nepal, particularly the COVID-19 impact on tourism and other sectors linked with tourism in particular, or whether they are different? I mean, of course, we can't talk about Nepal in through one lens. There are different parts of Nepal. have been affected differently or expected to affect differently. So it would be great to hear your thoughts on this matter. So Rita ji is the president of the Federation of Women Entrepreneurs Association of Nepal and also executive member and chairperson of Women Entrepreneurs Development Committee of the Federation of Nepal List Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So over to you, Rita ji. Let's hear your thoughts in about 10-12 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Bipul ji. Good afternoon, everyone. Namaste from Nepal. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected like industries very badly, especially women entrepreneurs. They have been badly hit by the COVID-19. But with every challenges, there comes an opportunity. Like what we did is, because the federation is represented in all the districts of Nepal, we are at the moment present in 50, but we plan to go to all 77 districts. What happened was, because from our partner organization site, we got to know about the Zoom meeting, immediately after the lockdown. And this is where we started giving our members, women entrepreneurs who are living in the districts, digital literacy programs, where women who could not open their own email account were being trained to open the accounts, and they're very excited. And then we start through USAID Tayar Nepal, we had a training on disaster risk management, disaster preparedness, and that really opened our eyes. Because now, because we went through a very bad earthquake, and the floods are always there in Nepal, during the monsoons. And this was a different kind of disaster, and because it involved health, everything came to a standstill, and women were very frightened because the business had come to a complete halt. So what we realized was we need to give a holistic, mental well-being training. So we started organizing these type of trainings, and women felt more positive and their confidence boosted. So now, all these trainings, we do it timely. And of course, the most challenging thing for a woman is access to finance. So then, of course, the government had come out with really good plans for women, subsidized loans, collateral-free loans. But even then, women were not able to, avail them. And then we found out that they had to come with a simple business plan or cash flow management, So we asked the bank to give the training on literacy, financial literacy. And on all these trainings are happening on Zoom now, and the women are benefiting. And another thing we did was, because of the lockdown, social distancing, the online marketing platform was a huge opportunity for the women. So we did a pilot project on 18 women with essential items and food items to come online, marketing. And that was also a huge success. And of course, the Federation has a WinBiz e-portal. So we've been now trying to, make it more dynamic and sell on these platforms. But even to do that, because the women from the districts, they have good products, organic products, but it's not been packaged and labeled properly. So we had to do a lot of work on that. So now we are training on their capacity building, on product development, on packaging, labeling. And like you said, tourism is badly hit in Nepal, because we are dependent on tourism, in Nepal, and because of the lockdown, all the hotels have been closed. And now, because the government has not issued visas, people who want to come to Nepal are not being able to come. And that has really, really been a big, disaster to tourism sector here in Nepal. And for us as an organization, because we are member-based organization, we cater to our members, and then because we are a federation, we lobby with the government, we take up issues women, issues regarding access to finance, and even policy issues. And since we've come to a federal system, federal structure, now we are training our women in the district. We have 7 women who represent the provinces, 7 provinces of Nepal, who are in the board, in the center. And we train them on advocacy, how to meet with the stakeholders, because the local government have a lot of funds, and now they've been able to, apply these mechanisms and get the benefits, from the local government. And of course, because now we are advocating with the government, like the government has realized our importance, and we've been represented in very important, like even in Ministry of Industry and Commerce, we represent in the meetings. And of course, now since I'm the president, I represent in our private sector, organization like FNCCI. And then we get to, yesterday, in fact, we had a national dialogue on business recovery, which was organized by the Ministry of Industry, and then of course, supported by ILO. And there we were able to put our thoughts, because what we told them was they could not have a blanket approach, but a need-based approach, especially for the women entrepreneurs. And the government are very approachable now, and they've come out with very good plans, especially good facilities for the women entrepreneurs. And I like to, here I want to differ, when you say you don't want to go to formalization, because we, as the federation, we have only, our criteria is the members have to be registered. So in fact, 3 years ago, before the pandemic, we had been successful in formalizing 400 plus women, and they have become now successful entrepreneurs. But before we formalize them, of course, we do their need assessment, and we do a training on their capacity building. And of course, because once they register, then they have been able to, avail of all the facilities that the government are giving to women, because their tax rebates and even the subsidized loans, collateral-free loans, which once they have formalized, they can, get these benefits. So we feel as an organization that formalization is necessary.
Is that all?
Yeah, it's that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritaji. Thank you, Ritaji. I agree with you that there are many advantages from being a formal organization, formal entrepreneur. But there are also, being informal, also there are advantages. So what I was trying to convey is that while formalization is good, but sometimes it may not be necessary to expand your business or in the given local context where you are operating. So on that note, we still have some time. We have about 10 minutes for questions and answers. So you can raise your hand, or you can raise your voice for any questions that you may have, whether it is a general question for all the 4 panelists or it is directed to any specific panelist. That's good. That's fine. So let's open the floor for the question and answer. Yeah. So Maryam, yes, let's hear from you. What is your question and to whom it is directed, or whether it is a general question? Over to you, Maryam.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful session. We've learned so much from this whole dialogue. Just a quick general suggestion from my end. I would want to know as to how we can keep in touch with all the members and yourselves for such future dialogues, and whether we could stay in touch with each other as a community. I think that would be a good suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you, Maryam, for making this suggestion. In fact, this is one of the activities that we have planned as part of this project, to create a regional network of entrepreneurs, organizations, government officials, non-government officials, and other stakeholders. So going forward, definitely we are going to do it, and CUTS and ICIMOD together along with partners like you. Definitely we are going to do it. And taking into account or covering all these 4 landscapes. So this is just the beginning of a journey. And so thank you very much for your suggestion. Any other questions? You can raise your hand or raise your voice. Yeah, Syed Muhammad Abu Bakr, he has raised his hand. So yes, go ahead, please.
Just 1 second.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there was an echo. So I'm the KMC officer of RP2 at ICIMOD. My question is that is there a possibility that, you know, we are talking about engaging women in trade in a proactive manner and building their capacity and building their resilience against COVID and other you know, human-led or climate-induced disasters. So how about an integration of women across all the landscapes, let it be the Hindu Kush Himalayas landscape or the Kailash landscape, and integrate them for better, you know, exchange of products and better exchange of knowledge, and that can help to eventually empower women.
Yeah, definitely. So as I said, we're going to create a regional network. We have experience of creating such networks at the regional level, also at the international level. And this is one of the elements that we are going to cover in that regional network. So it's going to have participation from all 4 landscapes, participation from different sectors, participation from different types of agencies, of course, to be led by CUTS and ICIMOD, at least to begin with. And one of the primary purpose of this network would be to exchange knowledge, ideas. So nowadays, I mean, since it is a much more enabling environment, at least electronically, so it will be, I would say it will be easier for us to exchange knowledge, exchange ideas, exchange successful models, not so successful models. The idea is to learn lessons from all these things. And sometimes we have found that we learn more lessons from not so successful models as compared to successful models. So we are going to design it. We are going to consult all of you while designing it. So thank you very much for pointing it out. Any other? Maybe we can, I think we can go for another 1 or 2 questions. Anybody else would like to pose any question? You can raise your hand, you can raise your voice. Of course, at the end of this program, we're going to have a group photo. You can use our website for that purpose. So if there is no other question or suggestion or clarifications, I would, yes, Pushpaji. There is one question from Pushpa Chatterjee, who is leading Bhutan Media and Communications Institute. Go ahead, Pushpaji.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Bipul, I just feel that it would be incomplete if I did not mention the study that we were involved in for the GTTFA, an extended project which looked specifically at how COVID situation has impacted women entrepreneurs in Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, and Nepal. and in Bhutan, BMCI was involved with this. So I realized that apart from what everyone has mentioned about what could be potential ways of helping women entrepreneurs, I feel it's very important to mention that there is a need for grants for women entrepreneurs, both informal, because there is a lack of access to finance in this. So very can access bank. It's very important that they get grants, collateral-free loans, or easy access to finance in order to, even during the pandemic, it would have been very useful. We also saw many women have changed their jobs, changed their businesses during the pandemic, trying to school. So ease of changing their businesses, the procedures for changing their licenses, all has also highlighted in the study that that was done earlier.
Thank you. Anything else, Pushpaji?
Thank you very much.
Sorry, we can't hear you. Pushpaji? Yes.
Yes, this is.
Pushpaji, sorry, it seems that there is some network issue. I mean, I'm glad that Pushpaji has mentioned the other study which we have done. We are still working on that, which is about the gender dimensions of trade facilitation. I think Pushpaji has made, if I understood correctly, a very, very important point which we need to look at much more closely and carefully, Kamala ji and Janita ji, as we make progress. That we know that there are a large number of people, particularly women entrepreneurs, women workers who lost their jobs, their business as a result of COVID. So what are they doing? What are the alternate opportunities that they are accessing or not accessing? So that's something whether government or other agencies are helping them or not. That's something we need to look at more carefully, more closely to understand. We all talk about resilience without getting into their details. For example, we all talk about new normal. What is that? Nobody knows. So this is something which we need to look at more closely. The second thing which I would like to highlight is that, you see, India has just come out with the new National Action Plan for Trade Facilitation for the next 5 years. And for the first time, there is a section on how can we make trade more women friendly. And this is a success story of our advocacy. Sometimes we do advocacy very quietly. And if we look at this section, it is very good. So we need to see to it that those measures are implemented on the ground. Right? So on that note, I think we have almost come to an end of this discussion. So let me conclude it. And I am not going into the details. We have taken note of all these questions, suggestions, including the ones which have been typed by Kamala ji in the chat box. All of them are very useful for finalizing this report of this pilot phase or first phase of this work. So we are going to take them on board. All I would say is one thing, and usually I don't say this. I don't use such words or phrases. My hats off to all of you. My colleagues at CUTS, colleagues and friends at ICIMOD, or partner organizations from Tajikistan to Myanmar. This is a study which can't be done without field work. And we have done this field work. By we means everybody taken together. In a situation which perhaps could not have been worse. We have to face travel restrictions, health fear, then harsh winter conditions, various other constraints, yet we have done it. One may say that, oh, this is not methodologically that good, the sample size is not representative, sampling may not be fully appropriate. I for one, if I may say so, don't give much damn to it, because our objective, our collective objective, is to get stories from the ground, not just data, but faces behind data. So I thank all of you, and not just I thank you, as I said, my hats off to all of you. And this is one area where we are going to do more work, and this kind of support is going to invigorate us to do more. So on that note, let me now request Mrs. Chanda Gurung, who is a senior gender specialist at ICIMOD, who has given us a lot of support for this work, for her concluding remarks. Over to you, Chandaji.
Thank you, Mr. Bipul. And as concluding, I think what I'm really impressed, I think all the stories from the women entrepreneurs, their experiences, it's like, that's what we need to hear, what is happening, what are you doing on the ground, how you have been doing. And that was really, I think, wonderful, gave us a lot of insights. How do we take this forward? It's not that this is a one-off study and we just finish it off with our list of recommendations. And I think the panel discussions were really, really insightful, interesting. And I was really hit by when they said it's not just the economics, it's the socio-economic, and then the other person also, it's also the psychological. If you see, there's a lot of reports coming out that economic sector has been really hit hard in our region, and especially these smaller SMEs, where 96% of the people are involved. And I think women are the hardest hit over here, of course, given the situation here of women with all these challenging discriminatory norms based on gender and attitudes and practices. So I think, and based on that, so women have been taken a lot of work burden in their confined spaces in terms of their rights, in terms of their access to resources, financial assistance, and then now, the very small physical spaces that they have to maneuver in, given the restrictions on mobility, not just because of the COVID-19, but also the social restrictions that are placed on women's mobility. And on top of that, now the gender-based violence, how it has exacerbated. It's kind of almost a shadow pandemic, as the UN Women has said. So I think we really need to see how are women struggling and surviving and their resilience. And to add with this study with cuts, I would just also like to inform that in ICIMOD, from the Gender Core team, we also did one very short, quick survey online with SODIF, that's the South Asia Development Forum for Women. We have done that with all 10 countries of South Asia with about 700 or 800 women, trying to reach them out online. And I think actually, with the two studies, we need to merge and see what are the big picture that's coming out. These women, and we see that women, yes, they've suffered a lot, but they've been resilient. They're trying to innovate, they're now starting to look at the business with the raw materials were a big problem, but now they're using the local resources, local technology, and they want to carry on. And they're really the women are so happy, and I think they found it pretty novel to go into this e-commerce, and they really want to learn. So I think digital education has been something which the women have been obstacle for women. They somehow, as I think one of our women speakers also said that, they don't believe us when we say. So it's this whole attitude that women don't know much, women no need to learn, so I think that kind of practice and norm, we need to challenge these norms, these practices. Yes, women can do by giving these examples of how women have been resilient. So this study, we've taken out all of the novel innovations and resilience spirit that they've taken out. And I think going forward, we need to say, I also absolutely agree that formalization of all these networks is not always necessary. Yes, there are many advantages, but there are also disadvantages, as I think people pointed out. I mean, there are so many women's networks among traders, even not just within that area, but even cross-border and international also there are. And formalizing sometimes could pose a challenge for them, for many of them, but at the same time, given certain context, there could be certain advantages. So we'll have to see how it was not a blanket, everywhere we have to formalize. So let's see that what fits well. And the other thing is, I think apart from the financial packages and all from the government, what is also important is digital literacy, e-platforms. Tell women, teach them about how do you do risk management on business. I think that's something that women really want across the board. They've asked for that. So try to get that. And I think we'll be working, but I think we should also tap this big regional networks like SARC and BIMSTEC. How can we take this there, and they could help us with that, because if you need to raise the profile of these women entrepreneurs who are working in the small corners, we don't, every time we talk about women entrepreneurs, people talk about SMEs. Why can't these women graduate up to be larger enterprises? I think that's one big goal we need to put in. And given that, we see that there's a lot of similar obstacles and challenges women have faced, but we also need to remember this region, there's so much of variance based on geography, our nationality, ethnicity, age, name it, and so there's, all these kind of, I think, social fault lines intersect to give multiple layers of identities for women, and of course men too, which acts sometimes as basis for exclusion or sometimes basis for inclusion. So I think we need to take a more nuanced look of what kind of women are entering, business enterprise, and where are they allowed to enter, where are they allowed to flourish, what is it that we need to unpack and make way for them so that they can rise above just being considered, oh, they're just small SME, we don't need them kind of thing. So I think with this, I would really like to thank everybody, Cuts, to do this work throughout, and all our women entrepreneurs there. I think I would say actually hats off to these women entrepreneurs who've been struggling and doing that and looking after their family. It's not that they just do the business. They have this whole other burden which sometimes is hidden and people take it for granted, which is really difficult. So everybody, I would really thank everyone who's been involved, not just doing the study, but giving the information so freely despite all these challenges they've been facing in this unusual, challenging times that we are facing. And let's take this forward. And again, Janita, Bipul, I think let's try to also see from both these studies, what is it that are great that we can take forward and combine, instead of, just, okay, we did one small study, we did one, but let's combine, because it's a larger institution, I think, responsibility of ours. So thank you, everybody, and I'll end this.
Thank you, Chandaji. So together we can take a number of forward-looking steps to take this initiative forward to create a regional network and various other things. So I will end by thanking all of you and also telling you a story of a friend of mine from my college days. She is an entrepreneur. She designs saris. She has her own weavers, weaving machines, and sell them. In the 2nd of April last year, she called me and she was crying, saying that it's not that she is unable to do her business as a result of this lockdown, COVID, all these things, but it's much more psychological. People are passing remarks, even close relatives, comments, laughing, and things like that. So I told her just one thing. Look at this challenge as an opportunity and become digitally literate. And she started doing that. Within 3 months, she has started her business again, now digitally, not just offline. Today, she has not only recovered fully, but has expanded her business. So these are the positive stories that we need to think about. We have challenges. We have to see how we can not just overcome those challenges, but also to convert them into opportunities. And I think this initiative by CUTS, ICIMOD, and other partners from all these landscapes is towards that. On that positive note, let me thank all of you and close this webinar. We'll see you soon with a lot of other activities. Thank you.